Okay, let's start. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here today at this info session on the EFSA call for tender technical and scientific support to EFSA training courses on plant pest surveillance for improving crisis preparedness in plant health with reference OC EFSA plans 2023-01. My name is Marco Cortopassi from the EFSA Finance Unit, and I'm here today with my colleagues Sibren Voss and Thomas Kaluski from the EFSA Plans team, and who will shortly present to you the opportunity for this scientific cooperation that is offered with this call for tender. Now, the objective of this webinar is to provide an overview of the call for tender, which was published on the 7th of April, and with the deadline 31st of May 23. And the webinar will focus primarily on the technical content of the call. Now, after these opening remarks, my colleagues from the plans team will give you presentations on the background of the call, the structure, the objectives, the deliverables, and so on. And during the course of the webinar, you can use the chat function on the right-hand side to ask questions. We will try to address those questions during the webinar at the end of the presentation. However, when the questions have an element of complexity that requires, let's say, some degree of analysis or verifications against the details of the technical specifications, we will take note of your question and we will answer in writing after the webinar. In any case, for reasons of transparency and equal treatment, all the questions collected today will be answered in writing and published on the platform TED e-tendering in the Q&A section. And also in the TED tendering section alongside the documents for the call, we will also publish the recording of this webinar. Now, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to my colleagues. I think Sibren will start with the presentation. So Sibren, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Marco. Good morning, everyone. So let me introduce myself. I'm Sibren Voss. I'm a team leader of a team that is dealing with plant health monitoring activities. And we are with my colleague Thomas Kaluski, scientific officer in charge of the project, going to guide you through the background and the background of this call for tender and the technical specifications of this call for tender. Can you go to the next slide? Oh, previous. Yes. So just very briefly to explain who we are within the European Food Safety Authority. So within the European Food Safety Authority, there are basically 4 different departments, and one of them is called the Assess Department. The Assess Department is the department dealing with risk assessment production. And within this risk assessment production department, there is a unit that's called Plants, that stands for Environment, Plants, and ECOTOXICOLOGY. And in this unit, we are hosting 2 different teams that are addressing the plant health issues. One is focusing on the plant health risk assessment, dealing in particular with pest categorizations, pest risk assessments, and commodity risk assessments. And the other team that we are part of, Thomas and myself, we are dealing with emerging risk and media and literature monitoring. We're dealing with the pest prioritization of union quarantine pests. And in particular, the topic of today, we are dealing with pest surveillance. Next slide, please. So just to start the discussion or to start the explanation, I wanted to show you this invasion curve that can show you for any pest how it is evolving once it is introduced in an area. So it starts after its introduction with a lag phase where population is establishing, is building up. And then after that, it starts an exponential growth. So the population, when the population of the pest that is knowing an exponential growth will reach a stage that the land managers become aware of it and start measuring the impact of it. And within this exponential growth phase, also the public becomes aware of it. And then this evasion ends up with, or doesn't end, but arrives at a stage that the pest population reaches plateau, a maximum level that corresponds to the carrying capacity of the receiving environment. Next slide. So if we put in parallel the invasion of the pest and the cost for handling the pest, for in particular managing the pest in terms of its prevention or eradication or even local control, we come up with this graph. So it's very interesting to see that the earlier we are able to detect the pest, the cheaper the operations will be. And the longer we wait, the more costly they will become. That means that, next slide. That means that our objective for having a better preparedness for the member states is to give them a series of tools, a series of methods to be able to detect the pest as soon as possible after its introduction. And therefore, we have built this surveillance toolkit that should allow to and should help and support the member states in performing detection of pests shortly after introduction of a pest. Next. So the problem that we are facing in this case, to do the detection, for us it is impossible to think about an inspection of all the host plants in an area. Therefore, we need to estimate a sample size, a size of this host plant population that allows to infer the conclusions of a survey on it, a sample that is representing this target population. So in this context, there is a toolkit that we are building, and this toolkit is composed of four different components, four different tools. The first one is the EFSA Pest Survey cards. The EFSA Pest Survey cards that are feeding a relational database, that what you can see in blue on this slide. And this corresponds to the preparation phase of the surveys. So the EFSA Pest Survey cards are documents that basically guide the user in the gathering of the information that is required to be able to design properly robust surveys and harmonized surveys. Then we go to the dark green, the part that is below. It is a tool that is about it is an expert system for surveillance that is currently finalizing its development. And this tool assists the user in the design of the survey in a statistically sound method, and that allows also to capture risk in the whole process of survey design. And the fourth tool is the multi-pest survey. So we also understand that the surveillance is organized at crop level. Therefore, if we want to optimize the surveillance activity and we want to optimize the survey efforts, we want to develop a tool that will allow to look at the surveillance from the crop perspective and not anymore from the pest perspective, meaning that if I am going to a specific crop or to a specific area in my environment, there might be a certain number of pests that can be hosted that find the proper habitat for themselves there. And I would like to be able to check all these pests in one go. And no, back to the previous slide. So this pest survey toolkit is in development since 2017, and a certain number of tools have been now delivered, and more are coming soon on the platforms available. And we need to accompany this work with communication and training activities. And therefore, we have established in the year 2022 a network of member states, scientific network on plant pest surveillance with the EU member states for capacity building with them on this toolkit. And also, we have been requested by the European Commission, by the member states, to start the training of third countries on this toolkit. And it is exactly in this context that we are launching this procurement to be able to deliver e-learning course that will be sanctioned with a certificate at the end, and that would give a complete overview of the methodology and of the practicalities of the different tools that are in the toolkit. And also, we would like to develop in the context of this procurement a series of webinars to better explain how this toolkit is being applied to specific pests. Now, I will the next slide, please. Yeah. Also, all this information that we have so far developed is embedded into this index of pest surveillance toolkit. And there, in this site, you will be able to find all the different outputs that are relevant for this work and that have been already published and are openly accessible for the public. I will here leave the floor to my colleague Thomas to go more in depth into the technical specifications of this procurement. That is a procurement that takes a form of a framework contract. So in this framework contract, what we are looking for is an organization or a partner that can support us in the activity. But at this stage, we have not the exact list of deliverables and the timing for each one of the deliverables. This would come once a framework contract is established with a partner. This exact deliverables and with specific deadlines will be ordered in form of specific contracts where we will be able to then implement this framework contract. So this is the general idea. So Thomas, the floor is yours, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So European Food Safety Authority was mandated by European Commission to train and to prepare supporting information about the tools that Sibran has described. That's why we have launched this call. So the objectives of this call, we have several. So the first one is to design and develop a learning course in the form of modules that are not longer than 30 minutes. They will not need the user attention longer than 30 minutes, well balanced between theory and practical on the EFSA Pest Survey Toolkit that is available on internet, and the links to all tools and all materials are in the call. The second objective is to organize, run and record a series of webinars for guiding the users through the use of the EFSA Pest Survey Toolkit and the implementation of the methodology that we have prepared. So the next objective is to host the learning course for 5 years on the platform accepted by us and to ensure compatibility with the EFSA IT systems. So here our preferred platform is EU Academy. We are now in the discussion with the Academy to sign the contract. If the contract will be signed by EFSA during this procurement, this contract, we will not need the hosting. I will describe it a bit later. So another one objective is to propose a dissemination strategy and ensure it is implemented to make all the didactical materials openly available and easy accessible, and to promote the events to the target audience. Propose and involve qualified and experienced tutors, experts agreed with us to prepare the content and the learning courses, plus the series of webinars. And the last objective is to update the learning modules and webinars as appropriate according to EFSA needs. And those objectives were split into 5 working packages. The first one is to deliver a learning course on the EFSA Pest Survey Toolkit. And here you will have 3 tasks. First one is to prepare the course and develop supporting materials for the methodological framework. The second task is to prepare the learning modules or course As an implementation of the task number 1 for case studies, and you have here 3 pests for which we have developed specific guidelines, also freely available. And the last task is to post of prepared materials on an EFSA-approved learning platform or in the EU Academy platform. This will be assisted by EFSA. The second work package is to organize, run, and record webinars for methodological framework and tools with 2 tasks. First one is to organize, run, and record webinar on Pest survey methodological framework, plus about EFSA Pest survey toolkit and the tools that were described by Sibren before. The third work package is to organize, run, and record webinars for 20 EU priority pests. Also with 2 tasks. First one is to prepare the concept of the webinars, and the second one is to organize, run, and record it for 20 EU priority pests. Fourth work package is to host a learning course, and as I said, if the EU Academy will be operational for EFSA, the hosting service will no longer be needed. And here I will have to tell you that each work package will be a separate specific contract. So if we will not need the hosting, we will not ask you for this specific contract. And the last work package is to update the learning modules and webinars. So as we are still developing the tools and the knowledge, new knowledge might come, also the regulations in the European Union might change. It is possible that the last years we will ask to update a learning course or to prepare new or update the existing webinars. For example, we are in the process of reviewing the priority pest list in European Union. So if the list will change in next 2 years, we will ask to prepare new webinars. So it will be more than 20. The timetable, the deadline for sending requests for clarifications and questions to us is 23rd of May. The closing date and time for receipt offers is 2:30 on 31st of May. And the opening session will open the proposals on 1st of June. And as my colleague said, it is available on the TED tendering portal. Here is the link. Of course, the presentation will be shared with you after the meeting. Thank you very much, and we are waiting for any questions that we could answer here.
Thank you, Sibren. Thank you, Tomas. We don't have now questions in the chat. I'm checking. If it's any question, please feel free.
You can also raise hand and ask the question. You don't have to write it in chat.
Sorry, my name is Loredana Sigillo. In this moment, the chat, now it's working, so I can write.
But you can also ask your question orally if you prefer.
Yeah, feel free to ask a question.
Of course. So we are ready to speak together now. No, only a question about, really, I have an observation. I think that the deadline is too near, really. And my question is about the 20 priority pests to be dealt with during the project. So when will the list will be available to make us a decision about the team to participate to the call?
So the list is freely available, and after the meeting, I will put here the link in the chat to the European regulation that is listing those pests. Most of them are insects.
Thank you for this information. Thank you.
So all those pests, priority pests, are listed currently. Only we don't know if in the near future this list might be revised. But today we have a fixed list of 20 priority pests in the EU, and that it should be the focus to start with.
Okay, thank you.
I see a question in the chat. I will read that out also for you, Tomasz and Sibren. So when it comes to the 30-minute e-learning courses, are there any expectations in terms of formats? For example, video production, animation, quizzes, or is this something that will be decided later in the process?
So we give a free space to the contractor to offer the methods how they would like to prepare this learning course. So there is no specific description for that. So you are really free to propose it, and this is one of the award criteria that we will review your proposal. So you are really free to propose the methods used.
And basically, we are not professionals in the preparation of e-learnings, and that is why we are launching this tender, because we would like to have the views of the professionals that are dealing with this activity.
Okay, I see hand raised. Palin Spetsko, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I have two questions. Basically, one relates to this topic that was just now discussed concerning experts in the field and experts in e-learning. I saw in your documents that concerning the team capacity, you need some specific expert concerning agronomy, plant methodology, entomology, statistics, field inspection, etc. And at the same time, these experts, as you say, should have a technical expertise in the topic of e-learning and webinars. Now, we see this a bit challenging to match these profiles simultaneously. So I would just like to ask you whether these should be two different profiles, or if it's one profile, then are you looking for an expert, let's say in agronomy, with some technical expertise in e-learning, or you are looking for an e-learning expert with some knowledge in agronomy?
If I may answer, I'll try to answer. So we are looking for an expert in e-learning and in webinar preparation. To fulfill the work properly, this expert in e-learning and in webinar preparation needs to have the technical contents from somewhere. And this technical contents, he will get it from experts in the field. So experts on the organism, experts in agronomy, experts on statistics that will be hired on case by case, depending on the need of the specific learning module or of the specific webinar. So this is a sort of a team that expertise that you described that should be all together, but we don't say that the same person or the same organization should have all this competence. It is not possible to find such an organization. So that is why we understand very well that we need to look for experts in the e-learning, because we are not experts in e-learning. We look for support on the e-learning and on the webinar preparation. In terms of the expertise that has to be involved for the technical discussion within the e-learnings and the webinars, we put ourselves available to agree with you on and to share with you the experts that we know in the field. Okay.
Thank you so much. That is very much clear. Thank you so much. Let me have just another very quick question. I'm not sure if I saw it well in your presentation at an earlier slide that you plan to create or award a single framework contract. And I also saw that you want to reopen competition at a later stage. So for me, that contradicts, or either I saw it wrongly or I don't understand. Can you please elaborate?
Sibren, I can take that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a single framework content, so no reopening and no cascade. I think the slide, maybe we can go back to that slide. I think it was the second and third slide in the slideshow.
Yeah, next one.
Next one, please.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be in this red box, only that one, single framework
Okay, single. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And the specific contracts will be signed with this partner. We will not ask any other.
Clear, thank you.
Let's see, we have another hands raised from Marius, please.
Sure, thank you. My next question is about one of the eligibility criteria, and one of the requirements is for the organization is to have experience in two major projects or published webinars or e-learning courses or similar related to the subject matter of this contract. And our question is about this related to the subject matter of this contract. So is it related to the to food safety, or is it more broader? I mean, this is one question that that we have, because it's quite a particular topic that we are referring to.
I can try to give the answer, and maybe Thomas, you can complete if more information is needed. No, it is very important for us that the organization that will be selected, that will be awarded this tender, is knowledgeable in e-learning and webinar. So the topic that we are dealing with here is e-learning and webinars. The expertise to fill in the technical analysis and the technical information of the e-learnings and the webinars will be found through this specialist. So it links to the previous question that I had answered.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a capacity in-house to review the scientific content of this learning, but we don't have capacity to prepare the modules and the webinars. So that's why the company must be efficient with has to have the experience with preparing kind of materials and courses.
Understood. So by subject matter, it's not related to food safety,
No,
it's related to e-learning and webinar preparation.
Exactly, it can be any topic. That the only important information is that in past years you have prepared the learning course or the webinars, and you can demonstrate it to us that we can. This is also one of the award criteria.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Now it's clear.
Okay. Thank you. Let's check if there's any more questions in the chat or any hands raised.
In the meantime, I have pasted in the chat the link to list of priority pests to European regulation in all European languages.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
And if I may answer another question, there was a mention that there is a network of experts in capacity building on the use of this toolkit that will be the subject of this contract. Is this list of experts public, or is it something that can be accessed by everyone or not?
So this network has recently been established. So it has been established in 2022. We will have only the first meeting now. So it is not yet a list of experts in the field, in the domain, because we have to just to start training and capacity building with them. Okay, so today we have a list of network members. As soon as we finish our first meeting, the list of the participants will be disclosed in the minutes of that network meeting, and it will be disclosed on the EFSA website. Okay.
And on the EFSA website, you can find the list of organizations that are participate in this network, and I will paste here also link to it. So you will have a full list of organizations in European Union that deal with these topics, but not share the names of experts.
Sure, thank you. That was actually my question, so thank you very much for answering it.
Okay. I don't see any more hands raised. Just check the chat. I don't see any.
So if there is no
question.
further question, I just wanted to invite you to participate to this tender. It's a big opportunity for us to broaden our outreach, but also for you to maybe develop into this different sector. This is going to be a first one out of a series of activities on training and so on in this field of surveillance.
Okay, thank you, Sibren. Well, we don't have any more questions. I think we can say we've come to the end of this info session. We hope you found it useful. Of course, any further question that you come up during your studying of the tender documents, so as you prepare your tender, you'll be able to ask via the e-tendering TED e-tendering platform using the question and answer section. There you also find all the code documents, tender specifications and annexes. They're all available there. Again, I remind you of the deadline for submission, the 31st of May 2023 at 2:30 Central European Summer Time. And I think with this, I would like to thank the speakers again, and thanks also all the participants for the participation. The recording of this webinar will be also published alongside the questions that you have asked today and the answers that we have given you. It will be publicly accessible to anybody in the coming days. So thank you very much. We can now close the info session. Bye-bye and good luck if you decide to apply.